Hi friends, this is our introduction to our fifth episode with Charlotte, who is a menopause nutritionist. She will explain it better than I can, but basically has spent quite a lot of her time drawing from her own experience with menopause and other health issues to like really understand just how important like nutrition is around menopause, and then like everything else that kind of ties into what happens to your body going through menopause. Yeah, we're really grateful that she felt comfortable enough to kind of share her own experiences with that and her own health issues as well. Unfortunately, she was suffering with COVID actually when we were filming this, so her camera is off, we're there. So just to kind of enjoy listening and the education that came with it, because I mean we literally are learning every single week, but this one really kind of put into perspective just how complex going through menopause is pre and post, and just how much we need to be prepared for it and how much I definitely am not prepared for it. But yeah, please enjoy this one. Thank you.
And this is episode 5.
This is episode 5, yeah. Welcome, Charlotte.
Hi.
5. Like, where are you, Charlotte, actually?
So I am in Dorking in Surrey. So just outside Dorking, yeah. So it's quite nice where we are. We're sort of out in the country, but close enough to get into London, and so yeah, nice.
You probably have much better weather down there than we have up here.
I mean, I don't know. It's been pretty awful. My mum lives near Carlisle, so I always get weather updates from her, and her weather seems to be permanently nicer than ours at the moment. So
yeah,
not so sure.
No, like perfect in between, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I suppose what we normally do is we kind of just like jump in, kind of just if you want to kind of like introduce yourself and kind of what you do and all that sort of thing, and we can kind of just go from there if that works.
Yeah. So I'm Charlotte Hunter, and I'm a nutritional therapist and functional medicine practitioner, which is a bit of a mouthful. But I'm really a nutritionist that specialises in working with menopausal women. So that could be, prior to menopause, in perimenopause, actually going through the really, really rough stages of menopause, or even out the other side. Some of my clients are 20, 30 years past menopause. So it's quite a broad spectrum of people that I work with. But I think the thing they all have in common is that they've all got their own unique, I suppose, issues they're dealing with, or health problems, but they just happen to be going through menopause at the same time. I think there's that misconception that I work with menopause. Well, no, I don't. I work with women, but they just happen to be going through menopause. But saying that, I've got loads of clients who aren't remotely near menopause. They've just got wonky hormones. Yeah. So it's quite a wide range of clients that I see. I mainly work online now. I can't even remember the last time I saw a client face to face. So life's changed quite a lot, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I work one-to-one with clients. I do group work as well. I run courses, and I also do work with other practitioners, so nutritional therapists, or anyone in the complementary medicine field, really. And I do training on working with menopausal clients and hormone testing. So it's quite varied.
Yeah, it's massive. You kind of go from like not even the beginning, like that you're just with women throughout their entire process of experiencing hormones and the changes that come with it, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Do you find that you have some women who maybe come to you in perimenopause with obviously there's kind of new medical dimensions that come with that, and they want to use nutrition and holistic over going straight on medication? Like, is that quite a big part of it for people who don't want to go straight on kind of drug help?
I'm not really sure how to answer that, because I think on the one hand, yes, but the other, no. So I think, if you rewind maybe 3 years ago, a lot of clients have come into me going, I think I'm moving towards menopause. I absolutely don't want to use HRT. What can I do? How can you help me? Whereas now, I still have some of those clients who either don't want to use HRT, they can't for some medical reason. They've tried it, didn't get on very well with it, or they just don't want to take it. No particular reason. Like, no, I don't want to be a slave to medication every month or day for the rest of my life, or however long they're going to take it. So I think there are those women, but also I suppose I get more women who are either on HRT and want to feel better, or do more for their longer term health, or they're thinking about HRT. So they go, well, I want to get as healthy as possible before I go down that route. So I think there's been a subtle change, I think, as menopause is spoken about more in life in general and in the media, certainly. I mean, every day there's another article on menopause, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Probably escape it at the moment.
It's a really high talking point at the moment, which is obviously a good thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And see, I'm just conscious of like people who might not know what HRT is. Would you be able to give like a little brief explanation of that for anybody who maybe isn't as close to the topic?
Yeah, so it's hormone replacement therapy. There's lots of new fancy names that have been thrown around at the moment. Menopause hormone therapy, but it's most well known as HRT. And it's really giving you the hormones that are starting to change at menopause, and can be dropping around menopause, especially estrogen. But it's usually used in combination with progesterone, and in some cases testosterone. But at the moment, testosterone isn't routinely used on the NHS, but it's certainly a hot topic.
My mum was talking about it's the new one that's more. Oh, how did she explain it? It's more, I can't remember. It's more natural or more to do with your biology or your hormones, and it's available in England but not in Scotland at the moment because the NHS is cheaper to use the. I don't know the difference between them, but yes, apparently there's like a new patch that's came out down south. But I mean, do women in England, so do they have to pay for their HRT?
Oh yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That seems like an insane idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's awful. I mean, I can't even get my HRT off my GP. So the reason I'm particularly interested in menopause is because I had a hysterectomy in 2019 when I was 44. And my GP wouldn't give me my HRT. One GP said, well, you can't have it because of your history. So I've got a history of endometriosis, adenomyosis, polycystic ovaries, had precancerous cells, my cervix, I had I mean, literally, the list goes on and on and on and on. I think the only thing I didn't have was fibroids. So it's probably easier when people say to me, so what's your hormone story? Oh, I had every
through all.
apart from fibroids. And so I saw a different GP, and they prescribed me patches and gels. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was really all the recommendations that had come from the consultant that I had my surgery with. And I wasn't feeling very well, so I thought I spoke to the consultant, and she said, oh, well, you might want to try more of this or less of this. And I sort of played around with it. And when I went back to the GP, they weren't very happy that I'd done that. So they said, well, you can't have any. I suggest you go to your private doctor.
So they were kind of doing their eyes out the pram.
Yeah, so I've sort of been blacklisted by my surgery. And because one of their reasons was, well, we could give you some HRT, but there's nothing stopping you going privately and getting twice as much as we would recommend. And what you're doing is above the standard recommendations, and we don't want to be liable in case you end up getting cancer. So that's a summary of what they said. But so I now have to pay private prescription fees, which are a lot more than the NHS.
Yeah, absolutely. And it feels like that, the frustration that comes with that, for having to have been rejected in the first place, to then have to go speak to another separate GP And
Yeah.
I'm sure that's like many women's struggles, isn't it, when it comes to that sort of thing?
Yeah. So I think when, we start talking about HRT, and there are a lot of menopause warriors out there campaigning for all sorts of, and I'm thinking, this is amazing, this is great, I'm all for this.
Mhm.
But I think a little part of me is thinking, well, I can't even get mine off my GP, never mind, get something.
Yeah.
So I almost sort of feel a bit selfish going, well, this is, it almost feels like a battle you're fighting, but it's not a battle that really includes me. And
Yeah.
I think that applies to quite a few girls who've gone through surgical menopause. It's
Yeah.
like the forgotten menopause, I think.
Yeah, because you told me when we first caught up that after you had the hysterectomy, it was almost like you don't get that gradual perimenopause decline. It just is like an overnight switch, which is really difficult to deal with, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I came out of surgery and I was on HRT straight away. I didn't have to wait any period of time. And even on that little bit that I was using, within a few days, I mean, God, the hot sweats were unbelievable. I mean, I'd walk around in pants and a dressing gown and then just warn anyone who came round. I said, look, there is a chance this dressing gown is coming off. So just to warn you. And then you feel the heat and it's like in your belly, then it just like rises up to your head. But the joint pains, I mean, it was like, my joints were made of glass. There was the just the tiredness and the headaches and nausea, and it was just really, really full on. And that was being on HRT as well. It just wasn't enough for me, because obviously I'd gone from being a 44-year-old with a tank full of hormones to absolutely nothing overnight.
And did you feel prepared before that happened to you? Did you feel like,
you know what? I mean, I think I probably did.
Yeah.
Because I was already working with quite a lot of menopausal women at that time, because I'd sort of had that realization I wanted to focus in menopause around the time just prior to my hysterectomy. So I'd already worked with a lot of people. I'd done all the research. I felt like I knew a lot, but I think until it actually happens to you, you don't really realize what it's all about.
It's your own body, isn't it? So,
and I think as a practitioner, you don't have to necessarily have gone through what your client's gone through, or experienced it. And yes, you have to apply a degree of empathy. However, it bloody helps if you have gone through it. I think sometimes when I see practitioners, I mean, in all kinds of fields, saying, I can help you through your surgical menopause, I can do this. I'm like, really? You have no idea, love.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had I was chatting to a couple of women. My auntie was a midwife for years, and then she went to do a course to be a doula, which is like a person that helps women through birth with breathing exercises, and like, it was more to it than that. But and then I had a call with a couple of her friends who had been through the course with her to see if they wanted to come to the podcast, and I was like, oh my God, what an amazing job! Like, maybe I'll be a doula one day. My auntie was like, I think you need to have a kid first.
Be able to relate in some shape or form.
Yeah, that's another one. You got to be there. You got to have been there and done it and all of that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But no, I think it's just, I find the link between nutrition and menopause really interesting, because I'm a big advocate of like diet in terms of mental health, and really like I went on this course at work, and it was talking about how your gut is your second mind, and it can really affect like your kind of mental capacity and stuff. But with like menopause and nutrition, there's a lot of that geared around the because like you say, you have changes like with your joints, and you have to be more careful with your heart. Is it all those kind of things that the food ladders up to, or is there more to it than that?
Yeah, I mean, I think with nutrition, probably how I work is very often there's too much emphasis on estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, because as a natural practitioner, I can't prescribe anything. I can't magically make your body make estrogen and bring you back to your I suppose, hormonal heydays of your 20s and 30s. It's more about working on the bigger picture. And I think things like mental health come into that, but also thinking about stress, sugar balance, your blood sugar balance, your inflammation, actually your genetics as well, your digestion. So it's almost as though you've got to step back and work on the bigger picture, because if you work on the bigger picture, that's only going to help your body, whether you choose to go through menopause on HRT or without. So I think there's more to it than just symptoms. If someone doesn't come to me and go, okay, so my cholesterol's too high, what are we going to do about it? Well, of course, we will look at their cholesterol and their diet and lifestyle, but it's factoring in all those wider issues as well.
Yeah, it's very must be like person focused, isn't it?
Yeah,
Individualized.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, you've got to factor in those symptoms, because when I see a client, there's that fine line between what they want help with, but what I think they need help with.
Yeah.
So it's trying to match those goals, I think, because it's very easy to go, okay, you've got high cholesterol, take this particular supplement, that'll help it, but you're not really getting to the root cause of what's actually going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I assume that once you start with, depends on, I don't know how long these patients normally stay with you. Do they stay with you for quite a few years, or is it kind of like a kind of drop in, drop out sort of thing?
I'd say initially we'll work together for about 3 months.
Okay.
And I might see them 2-3 times in that period. Some of them will keep coming back. I mean, I've got some clients who I've been in touch with probably for 10 years.
And I was wondering, if they start with perimenopause and then maybe it kind of stabilizes and then it gets worse, and then if you already know their history, that could be quite nice to just touch base again.
Yeah, I mean, if I think about it, I've got clients who I saw 10 years ago. I'm working with their daughters now. Or I might have worked with someone on their fertility 10 years ago, and now they're back with me, want to talk about perimenopause.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I suppose that, when you've been in practice a while, I suppose that happens. And I don't think you really realise until you sort of reflect back on the time that you've been in practice, and how your clients have changed, and I suppose how you change as well when you work with them.
Yeah, absolutely. As you say, your hormones and lifestyle and everything changes as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And did you, because I remember you were saying that you haven't always, how did you find that niche into, I guess, have you always been a nutritionist, and then once you started nutrition, how did you kind of move into the menopause side of things?
Yeah, so I haven't always been a nutritionist. When I did history at uni, and then I did a master's in museum studies, so went to work for some of the big museums in London, and I just got a bit bored, which is ridiculous, because I had these amazing jobs, working in amazing places, doing really cool stuff, and I'd be like, yeah, I'm just a bit bored. So I decided to do a nutrition degree part-time with work, and I wasn't in any great rush to do it. I think it took me about 7 years altogether. And around the time I came to the end of my degree, I'd moved out of London, and I decided just to leave my job and set up a nutrition practice. I didn't have any idea how I was going to do it or what I was going to do. But when we moved, I got a part-time job at a chiropractic practice in Godalming in Surrey, and I worked on reception. I think it was in like 3 hours every Wednesday night. I mean, it was hardly any time I was there. And I did some holiday cover, and that was in I can't remember when that was. I think it was probably like January time. And then I finished my degree in July, and I just walked straight into a clinic full of clients. I was so fortunate. I mean, talk about being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was a busy practice. It was right near the train station, loads of commuters, lots of people with disposable income as well. So it was just perfect timing. And I was there. I mean, I worked there on and off for a number of years, actually. And I didn't really have to worry about how am I going to get clients, because I had a client base ready. And when I started, I really worked with everyone and anyone who came through the door, really. So it was children, older people, women with hormone problems, lots of musculoskeletal conditions and injuries, obviously being a chiropractic clinic. And as time went on, I just found I was seeing more and more women with wonky hormones. I know it's not very technical, but just needing help with problems with their periods or skin or fatigue. And after my second son, I eventually left the practice just so I couldn't really commit the time that they needed. And I think the focus of my practice just continued on women's health, really. And then it was around the time I had my own hysterectomy that I realised that probably 70% of my clients were either perimenopausal or menopausal. So I was invited to work on a retreat in Spain because someone who's running a menopause retreat was unwell. And I just kept thinking, God, the universe is really telling me something.
Yeah, definitely.
So I went along with that and I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
And that was in the summer of 2019. And I came back from that week and thought, this is what I need to do. It was just effortless working with these people.
Yeah.
And then about a month later, I found out I had to have a hysterectomy. I thought, okay, all right, that's the deal. It's signed. I'm done.
Absolutely. Like you've experienced it, can relate, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's how I got to menopause, really. I mean, if you asked me 10 years ago, if you were going to be a menopause nutritionist, I was like, what? No way.
Yeah.
Menopause women are mad.
There's the general impression people seem to get, isn't it? But
Yeah.
What happened on the menopause retreat? What kind of things do you do?
Oh, God, it's lovely. So it was just amazing, gorgeous food. They did yoga twice a day, meditation every day, and then they had the option to do lots of different therapies. So there were like massage therapists and energy healers, and I mean, like everything you could possibly want.
That's good.
And then they all had a consultation with me. So there were 10 of them. But yeah, really, really lovely. Up in the mountains in Spain.
Wow, that sounds amazing.
Mm.
Sounds tricky.
Have you seen how things are opening back up? Have you thought about running a retreat yourself, like doing something like that again?
Yeah, I mean, I've thought about it. I think I suppose over the last couple of months, I've taken a step back in some ways. I mean, I'm still, seeing the clients and doing all my social media stuff and, still carrying on. But I think I'm at the point where I'm taking stock of how I'm going to move my business on and what the focus is going to be. Because, menopause has suddenly become massive and every single nutritional therapist is now a menopause expert. So it's like, well, okay, so what am I going to do? What am I going to do to keep my, I suppose, my offer, my focus fresh and, just, from a personal point of view, but also from a business angle, it's like, how am I going to move things forward? What's my focus going to be? Because I think being a menopause nutritionist now probably isn't enough. There's got to be, another focus. And I think my experience over the last 10 years has taught me that, whenever things don't feel quite right, just niche again, just drill down your niche that little bit more. So you'll have to watch this space because I don't actually know the answer yet, but
I know it sounds exciting. And is it just you on your team now? Assuming you've built a bigger team.
Yeah, so I've got there's what's me and I've got 3 girls who see clients as well. So I refer between the team. So so it's a really good group. We've got one girl who is specializes more in weight loss and menopause. Another girl does more of the perimenopause, and then we've got someone else who does a lot of the everything else. So it's a really great team, and I think it's good to have that from a backup point of view, because when you're self-employed and you're on your own and you're working online, you just don't see human beings very often.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also trying to juggle your family life and everything in between.
Yeah, because I work for a laboratory as well,
Cool.
alongside my own business. So they sell a food sensitivity test.
For like allergies.
Yeah, so I head that up in the UK. It's a US company, but I've got that ticking over as well. So definitely spinning lots of plates.
I was going to say, Charlotte,
It's pretty cool. It'd
know.
be cool to do something like if you created if you could fuse those two together, like some sort of like menopause powder, like a powder that's got some sort of nutritional benefit or something.
Yeah. It's
so much.
yeah, there's a lot of, I mean, there are some really, really good menopause products out there as well. I mean, I did a webinar a couple of weeks ago on supplements for menopause, because it's probably the biggest question, or most common question I'm asked, certainly on social media. What should I take for menopause?
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, $1 million question.
Yeah, where do you start with that?
Where do you start? Yeah, and I just say, I mean, my answer usually isn't what they expect, because I don't always recommend a menopause product. I think sometimes it's going back to those fundamentals of thinking about your stress and your blood sugar and your diet and your genetics and all the things that I mentioned earlier. So they're the things that you should be focusing on, not thinking I need a supplement to fix this particular problem.
Yeah, like drinking 2 bottles of red wine and having a takeaway, but then having your supplement.
Yeah.
Also, it's great.
I'm just hoping that my genetics are in line with my mum's, because my mum had a relatively okay like menopause. I was chatting to her about it, and she had really bad joints. She has arthritis in her hands, and she had joint pain and stuff. So she went to her GP and asked for HRT, and they asked her why she wanted it, and she said because of joint pain, and we've got a history of heart disease in our family. I think it can help prevent that, or is good for it. But yeah, I'm just, because I was like, did you have like crazy night sweats, or like were you like feeling like all over the place? She was like, no, actually I had an okay time of it. So I'm like, oh please.
No, you do fingers crossed for that, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I think my mother wasn't too bad either.
Yeah.
She had quite a late menopause.
I know.
I mean, she just said, "Oh, I didn't really have any symptoms."
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe the whole stress thing has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, my I don't have much experience to go off, because my mum, she went through like a period of grief when she was in her 40s, so her periods just stopped, and that was that. So she never had any sort of menopause symptoms whatsoever. So she said that she had a lucky escape in some shape or form, but obviously for other circumstances. But yeah, not much to base off from that. So I'm like, I don't know what's coming for me.
Isn't that crazy that the body does that? Like that level of stress triggers so much physiology. Because even for the benefit of people listening, like Charlotte had shingles recently, and I had shingles 2 years ago, and that was purely driven by like stress, like the most stress I've ever had in my personal life. And then I just had this rash. I didn't know what it was, and went to the GP, and they were like, yeah, it's shingles, it's most likely stress induced. And I think once you have shingles, you can have it again. Like if you get really stressed again, it can come back out. But
yeah, I mean, because I had, first time I had shingles was December 2020, and then I had COVID in January. Then I had shingles again.
Oh my God.
And then I had COVID again. I got shingles again. It's like this COVID shingles tag team thing I've got going on.
Your body's just not getting a break at all.
Yeah, but I'm going through a really messy divorce at the moment as well. So it's like busy with work, divorce, life. I think it is just telling me to slow down.
Yeah,
what I'm trying to do.
We're all I know it's very, very difficult sometimes to just like sit back and listen to what your body's trying to tell you, isn't it? But
I think sometimes, when you do slow down and you take that bit of time out, it does let you reevaluate. And like I was saying before about thinking about what I'm going to do with my business, it is a good time just to, that nothing's going to fall apart if I don't see as many clients as I normally do, or do as much work as I normally do. I think you've got to listen to your body and take my own advice.
I know. I suppose you're giving it out to all these women that are like, oh, I need to help, and you're kind of like, I need to take that for myself.
Definitely.
And then in a way, you'll probably end up being better for the people you're trying to help, because if you're going in fresh and you've got these new ideas and you've taken that time to reflect, like it's going to be beneficial for both sides normally, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
All the more reason to go to organise a retreat.
Absolutely, yeah.
Get back to those Spains and found in Spain.
We're just back from Lisbon, and one of Isla's pals is now just left. She moved to Ireland, then was like, I can't do this, and moved to Lisbon and is a freelance copywriter. Yeah, she's loving it. She says it's like a total area for digital nomads and loads of yoga, like yoga every evening, meditation. Like we left on Thursday, and we're like, what you did tonight? She's like, oh, I'm going to this yoga retreat in the mountains. We're like, oh, jealous.
Yeah. It's hard not to compare yourself sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. Don't worry. You need to take it.
No, I had everything switched off.
It's
Also,
okay,
I
don't
thought.
worry. Sorry, we've got like some weird building noise in the background, so I do apologize if you can hear that as well, because I don't know what's happening on my street today.
No, it's just it's not dogs barking, children shouting. Well, I think since you've been through the pandemic, I think the expectation of everything being perfectly silent has sort of gone, hasn't it?
It's
you
not.
You can get away with most things.
It's not possible. Just not
I did a webinar the other day, and I was on my own at home, and so the dogs knew I was in and they knew I was talking, and I had to leave the doors open because they kept barking. So I was on screen, but the dogs just kept wandering behind, like climbing on furniture and like just being complete menaces. They were quiet, which is the main thing, but it was really distracting, I'm sure.
Yeah, I can imagine.
My dog does that. Like I normally have a bed behind me, and I'll be on like a pretty serious call in my day job, and then I'm like you, I'll be on mute, but then she'll be like digging under the covers and like throwing them around, and I'm like, oh.
Oh.
It's very sweet though.
One thing I was going to ask you about actually was your experience with endometriosis, because one of our friends she's just qualified as a GP, and she wrote a dissertation on, I don't know if she's had endometriosis or she just was interested in it, going into that field. But it can take on average, I think, 7 to 10 years for a diagnosis. Was that kind of similar for what your experience?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, if I think back, I mean, I didn't really have a diagnosis until God, how old was I? Like 35 maybe. But I'd had symptoms which I can now think back on that were, exactly fit with endometriosis. But then even then they goes, well, we found a bit, but blah blah blah. It wasn't really very committal. And then in the run up to my hysterectomy, the pain I was experiencing was just unbelievable. I mean, it was 3 weeks out of 4, and I was pretty much on my period 3 weeks out of 4. And and then at the time they said, oh well, it's likely to be could be adenomyosis, which is to do with your womb. It's like endometriosis, but in your womb lining. And I'm well, it could be. And we've done some scans. Well, it could be. But again, it wasn't until I had my hysterectomy. Oh yeah, it definitely was. So I think it's just, it's a difficult one to get diagnosed, I think. But I think, if I think back to my 20s, things have changed massively. A bit like menopause, people are more open about talking about it, rather than just going, oh, I have periods and they're rubbish and well, that's just life. Just get on with it. I think there's more options now and more opportunity to talk about it.
So was it the kind of like acceleration of the symptoms of endometriosis that kind of led to the tipping point of having a hysterectomy, just to kind of resolve it? Yeah,
I mean, I think it was a combination of a few things. It's a bit of a grisly story, so I don't mean to gross you out or overshare.
No, I'm fine.
Of course you are. This is nothing. One weekend, I suddenly started passing loads of discharge, just completely out of the blue. I mean, I sat on the sofa and thought, oh no, I've spilt my drink, which is really horrible. It was like this great wet patch. I thought, oh my God, how weird. And the discharge I had was just like water, but it was just like pouring out. I was having to wear like giant sanitary towels, and the only time it wasn't gushing out, as if I lay down
Oh my God.
and then just like packed my pants with sanitary towels.
Uh-huh.
And there wasn't anything stinky or gross about it. It was just this weird fluid. I thought, oh, I better go to the doctor's. And that's what, hang on, it's Saturday, like 2 days till Monday's quite a long time. I should probably speak to someone. So I went to the out of hours doctor, and she said, well, I haven't got a chaperone, so I can't actually examine you. I was like, oh, okay, but I'm just going to give you 3 antibiotics just to make sure we kind of hit everything, because it could actually be your gut.
Okay.
Oh, okay. And it was really strange. So anyway, but she said, if anything changes, go to A&E. So I went home and I thought, it's Sunday night now. I'm not going to take all of those because that just sounds a bit weird. I'm not in any pain. I haven't got a temperature. I've just got this weird symptom. So I went to the doctor's in the morning, but at that point I was feeling dreadful. And she examined me and then she did that sort of reassuring tap on my leg. I'm just going to go and speak to my colleague. I was like, oh no, I thought I'm in trouble. She said the magic words. Oh my God.
Oh God.
Anyway, the other doctor came in and she sort of had a prod around and then kind of whisked the trolley away. And I was like, what are they doing? What are they talking about? So I sort of jumped off the table with my, trousers around my ankles, trying to, so what are you talking about? What are you talking about? I said, we're just discussing whether, we should admit you to hospital. I was like, oh. And then I saw the trolley and went, oh, okay. And there was just like this green, bloody, just pus and all sorts. I thought, okay. So I just sort of then, at the sight of all that, I just started sobbing.
Oh, bless you.
And she said, what we're going to do is going to put you on antibiotics for 24 hours and see how you are. And she said, we are actually going to put you all the 3 that you've already got. So, that wasn't a bad call. And then I had sort of called me back, had some smear tests. They all came back a bit dodgy. And I went for a colposcopy and they did more tests and it was just, the same result. So I saw a specialist and they said, well, we can remove the parts of your cervix that are a bit manky. But my worry is that if we do that, you're not going to heal, because I hadn't healed from the biopsies they'd taken and the biopsies themselves had got infected. So she just said, with all the other stuff going on as well, I think it would just be better just to whip it all out. That was it.
That's a huge decision to make, isn't it?
It was, but I think, the doctor I saw was really good. She was really pragmatic and just saying, look, think about it. 3 weeks out of 4 aren't yours.
Yeah.
You can't work, you can't socialise, you can't get on with your life. And this has been going on for too long. And technically I'm not allowed to tell you what to do, but really I'm telling you to do it.
Yeah.
She was really cool. And that was the brief version.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's massive, Charlotte. It's a lot to have gone through, having then had such a prolonged period running up to that as well.
Yeah. And then of course I have my hysterectomy and then we go into lockdown.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
great.
like, yeah, I feel better now and I can't go anywhere. Great.
Oh, I can't celebrate.
So what was the time period between you feeling unwell on the Saturday to having the hysterectomy? How quickly did that happen?
So I had my hysterectomy privately. So it all happened really quickly.
Very quickly.
So we discussed it in, I think, October, and I had it in December, 6th of December. So it was all really, really quick. But I think being self-employed, December's a really good time to have stuff done.
Yeah,
certainly if you're a nutritionist, because everyone wants a drink.
It's just
Prosecco,
January.
Eat rubbish. So it's quite good timing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And did you say you'd already had children before that?
Yeah, so I've got a 9-year-old and 11-year-old. So I've got 2 boys. So that was all done, and didn't have any intention of having any more.
Because I was just thinking, did you say you were 35?
So I was 35. Yeah, when I got my endometriosis diagnosis. So I'm nearly 47. So on the slippery slope to 50 now.
That's slippery slope. It only goes up.
You know what? I had a light bulb moment the other day because I popped into the health food shop when I was up in London. I thought I'm just going to, stock up on all the lovely stuff that you can't get around here. And I had that first realization that I'm becoming a woman of a certain age who isn't particularly interesting to the likes of nice young boys who work behind counters. And I was like trying to talk to him, and I was like, he's just not interested here. And I thought, oh no, it's happened. I'm becoming invisible to like a different generation. I thought, Jesus.
I did read a thing about that, but it was a woman saying it. It was like an article about like how men treat women badly in streets, like sexual harassment and stuff. And she was like, I'm so happy to now be invisible to men, because once you reach that age, it depends how you look at it. It can be a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah, that's true.
But no, I was just asking about, because I thought you meant, sorry, you'd had that kind of hysterectomy and medical kind of trauma at 35, because I guess with our generation, like, people have kids at a much later age now. Like, I wouldn't even think of having a child before 35. So then I'm like, God, what if you kind of
have that choice taken away from you?
Yeah. It's a big decision to make.
Yeah, I had Leo when I was in 2011. So that was, I was 35 when I had Leo. And then I had Luke in 2012. So that, I mean, they're quite, it's about 20 months between them, which was madness. Wouldn't recommend that. It's like I'm too big
in some ways, right? But
yeah. I suppose you never get that time when you're out of nappies, I suppose. So it just all blends into one. So I was, that was all done, and definitely didn't want any more.
And did you have any issues with your pregnancies, or did that all go okay?
I mean, they weren't great. I mean, we had issues with fertility. So we had a bit of help there with Leo, and then Luke came along as if by magic. But I mean, my pregnancies were rotten. The first one, I was just sick the whole way through. It was like from the day I found out I was having him to the, until the minute he came out, I was just being sick.
Oh my God.
Horrible. I just looked like a skeleton with a football stuffed up the tummy. I was just so skinny.
And it's been so hard in like the job that you do as well to kind of be like, how do I fix this?
Yeah, and I mean the other thing as well, and I'm sure this is the same for lots of women who work, is that you just have to carry on as normal. You can't like stop. You have to be charming, and you have to be engaging with your clients, and and just pretend that you don't feel like you're dying secretly.
Yeah, I feel like that's been a running theme in a lot of our podcasts and the different kind of women that we spoke to in different areas. It's just like the expectation of women and just how much we have to get on with things in all aspects, whether it's our health or jobs or presentation. Just
my mum always talks about that, because she's got like a partner now, like a boyfriend, and my sister's been quite unwell, and I think he was saying something, they were having some sort of conversation, and he was like, I don't know how you just pretend that everything's fine. She's like, I've been doing it my whole life. I've had horrible divorce, like daughter being unwell, you still have to go to work, you're in menopause, you still have to go to work. Like, women are very good at just getting on with it.
Putting on a brave face.
Yeah, and then it's like, but then you something's got to give though, doesn't it?
Totally.
Something's got to you can't really maintain it the whole time. And I think it's okay if you do it for periods of time, and then you've got a time where you can recharge. But I think the difficulty is when it's continuous, that there's no break. And I think for me, I suppose I can put myself in that category at the moment with the shingles.
Absolutely.
And that's divorce for you. Hopefully when that's all done, I'll be a new woman.
You're brand new, reborn.
Yeah.
I can imagine, I think when it comes to like even like linking with like menopause, from us just doing like our basic research as well, like that's a hot topic in the sense of menopause and it's like treatments and things was just something that women has just been getting on with and never really has spoken quite openly about. So you must find that the same with your clients and things. Like they've probably suffered for a period of time and just thought, oh, okay, this is just how it's meant to be.
And it depends on the partner. You're like, I would imagine menopause could be a cause of a lot of divorce, because depending how your partner helps you through that or reacts to it, could be like, I would find it really annoying if they weren't like sympathetic and didn't get it.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say that I'm sure he's not going to listen to this, but my husband was particularly sympathetic when I had my hysterectomy. You know, it was almost this idea that you go into hospital, you have the operation, then you come out and then you're fixed. And I don't have to listen to you moaning about being ill the whole time.
Yeah.
I think that was the feeling from his side. Not really any care or support afterwards. You know, I did feel like the elderly relative that nobody likes that's hidden away in the attic.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, just leave a plate of food at the door, she'll be fine. You know,
Yeah.
it felt a bit like that.
The hard part of chronic illness in that sense, isn't it? Of the length, the kind of strain that it takes on you. But
I suppose it's the resentment from the other side. You know, why do I always have to look after you? Why is it always, you know? So I suppose it is possible to see it from both sides, but when you're on the side that's getting it, it's not much fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a woman as well, I think.
Yeah.
You've already gone through childbirth. You deserve
I know,
waiting on hand and foot.
I think so.
Cool. Well, I guess one thing we always do at the end of our podcast is our previous guest writes, we call it like Gloria's diary, like writes a little note of something that they wished they could like tell their younger self. And then we kind of say that to our next guest, and just to see if it resonates with them. And the idea is that we kind of just try show that all of us have the same insecurities and same fears, and as we get older, like it kind of normalizes them a little bit. So do you want to?
Yeah, so I think our one that we have for, which you might relate to, Charlotte, purely just from your story, is the fact that your beginning career, like what you start off in school or studying and things, doesn't then define what you stick in with for the rest of your life. And I think that's relates heavily with us, but hopefully would resonate with you as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think when you're younger, and depending on the type of person you are. I mean, when I was very young, I was really quiet, wouldn't say boo to a goose, you know, really always sort of lived in the shadow of my really, really uber confident friends. And I was always like the sidekick. Yeah. So I think being like that, it's quite difficult to do what you really want to do without someone telling you that it's not a great idea.
Yeah.
And be influenced by other people quite easy. So I remember, you know, I wanted to study nutrition when I was at school, and I think it was like the careers advisor. Those great people who give you great advice, don't they?
Yeah, those are worse.
And actually, I remember at the time I was sent to the library, and you had to fill out this questionnaire on, you know, what would be your ideal career. And I remember mine came out shoe designer. I remember thinking, why would I want to be a shoe designer? I mean, it's like, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. All the jobs that I could be recommended, shoe designer. But no, I remember the careers lady said, well, you know, Charlotte, you know, I'm not really sure sciences would be the best thing for you, because at the time they were really, really pushing sciences as a career. And trying to get more people to study at university. So the grades you needed to get in were much, much, much lower than they had been. So I remember friends of mine going off to do engineering at Manchester Uni on like 2Ds, you know. And she said, no, you know, you really should be doing art subjects. You know, you're far too clever to be doing sciences. And I remember just going along with it and doing A-level. I did A-level history and art and sociology. I'm like, what am I going to do with that? Well, it turned out, I mean, I think, you know, it turned out well. And I had a really enjoyable career in museum industry. And I think once I'd built my confidence and I'd got out into the real world, I was able to take notice of opportunities. Yeah. You know, I think that was the big thing. But yeah, I mean, I think when I look back to right at the beginning, it was being influenced by other people too much.
Yeah,
Mm.
I think I totally agree with that. And it's
Yeah.
really hard to kind of get yourself out of that mindset when you've had those people you've turned to
Yeah.
tell you otherwise. Like,
I think I was quite envious of those kids that knew exactly
Yeah.
what they wanted to do. You know, there's always a group of them, like, you know, one of them was absolutely going to be a dentist and a doctor, and one was going to be a farmer.
Yeah,
Um,
it for life.
you know, and that was it, you know, but I don't think I ever really had that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
guess
mean,
also,
even now I think, you know, what am I going to do when I grow up?
Yeah. I don't know if that'll ever go away, to be honest.
No.
I really don't.
But I think it's nice to have a life of doing different things. Like, I would hate to be a doctor my whole life. Like, that must be so monotonous. Like, I think it's nice to mix things up and do different careers and pivot when something interests you. I think that's a better way to do it.
Yeah, and I think as well, it's thinking about your own, I suppose, personal metrics, isn't it? You know, how do you define your own success? Is it enjoyment? Is it job satisfaction? Is it how much you get paid? Is it how much joy it brings to your family life? Or how, you know, or do you crave the approval of others? Or, you know, it depends what I think your measurement of success is, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And if anyone wanted to try and find you, Charlotte, for advice and kind of linking with you, where would they be able to find you?
So I'm on Instagram, which I think is where we met.
Yeah, it is.
So it's Menopause Nutritionist, which is nice and easy. My website is mymenopausenutritionist.com. So it's all there.
All there if you want to read through. Enjoy it, definitely.
A very well curated Instagram page.
Yeah,
Oh, thank you.
We're taking inspiration.
We're just back from a lot of unhealthy eating, so we might go on the recipe page today and make something healthy.
get some inspiration.
Just have a green smoothie. It fixes everything, apparently.
No, but we really appreciate, Charlotte, just because the fact that you have COVID and you've been feeling so rubbish, to take the time to talk to us and to be so open with your experiences. I think also is, I imagine it takes a lot to kind of be able to say that out loud and to share that with us. So we really, really appreciate it. And I suppose in some ways, hopefully it might help even just one person who might be able to relate, I think is the general consensus.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you very much. It's been lovely talking to you both.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, hopefully we'll stay in touch.
Yeah, definitely.
I hope so. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.